Nobody move.
Nobody gets hurt.
I'm Nick G.
I'm Mike D.
And this is Good Cop, Bad Cop. I'd like to thank our sponsors today, Pop McCann Whiskey, smoothest drink in the land. Grab your bottle today at popsmccannwhiskey.com. Also like to thank Friends of Martina White. Visit votemartina.com for more information about the work Martina has been doing as state representative of Pennsylvania. We would also like to thank our sponsor, Beyond Creative. If you're ready to take your online presence to the next level, visit beyondocreative.com or call 267-362-WEB1 to discuss your project. And our title sponsor, AR Law, arjusticenow.com. We fight so you don't have to. Adams Renzi Law. We would also like to thank our sponsor, Morrow Flooring, hardwood, laminate, vinyl, tile, and carpet. You get military and first responders discount. That is Morrow Flooring. You can go to goodcopbadcoppodcast.com, click on his link for more details.
If time doesn't go on and you don't get better about it, something is actually wrong, not right. So I'd like to just kind of, challenge, academia about their thought and what they call it and their designator and how they deal with it, and that's my 2 cents on it.
No, absolutely, I would agree with you on every front. And I also want to be clear, I'm not currently licensed or practicing, partly because I left that clinical structured world, actually to get into the world of brain injury and psychedelics and that, and looking at how we can rewire and relearn things, because I found there was more healing there, and that the labels are dumb, and maybe I'm not supposed to say that, but I agree with you, absolutely. And I think it's the same thing, like the way even when we talk about it in diabetes, a diabetic, or I have this versus I am this label. The point is more that as a country, as a society, we were asking people to risk their lives. Well, I'm sorry. Civilians are asking others, like you all, heroes, to risk your lives for us, and we don't give you salary to live on. We don't give you support. Like, it's wrong.
Well, one of the things that we brought up last time, one of our new sponsors is a CBD/THC company, and it's funny that we're moving in the way of medicine to even where doctors are looking at psychedelics. We've had a guest on, Kurt. He's not a doctor, but he's a human performance specialist where, with SOF and all that stuff. And he's now vouching like psychedelics is where it's at. It's what heals you. But when you work for the government, you can't even fucking take CBD for joints and go to sleep. You just can't. And I understand why. It's because what someone will do is they'll go smoke weed. They'll pop hot on a test. And then they'll go, oh, I took CBD that wasn't tested, right? So the government's just gonna go, okay, you know what? No CBD, how about that? Yep, and it's just crazy, but we can't even get CBD, that's not even a drug, and modern medicine's moving all the way to psychedelics, yet the government world is still sitting and trying to get like joint medication.
Yeah, and then, sorry, I'm gonna say it, alcohol is poison, and that's okay. And
No, it's gonna be good.
but I just mean in terms of healing, it is the tools in the toolbox. We're not allowed to use them all, and that's unfortunate. But also, going back to what you were saying about PTSD. So I didn't coin the term, and it's just the vernacular that we have, but I really appreciate you saying that, because it sort of becomes a stigma in and of itself.
Absolutely.
And all I'm hoping for is more kinds of conversations in different kinds of places, so the people who make those decisions hear your stories.
For just for the sake of of argument, I'll challenge what you said. It's not just a stigma, although it is. There's always that negative stigma of it. I'll go as far to say some people view it as a stigma, and some wear it as a badge of honor. And I know that sounds weird, but coming from the military, let me tell you, if you don't have PTSD,
did you even do
You
it?
haven't seen
Did
shit.
you even go to
You
war?
haven't seen enough.
And something tells me that's not just the military. If you're a firefighter and you don't have PTSD, have you ever saved anyone? And something tells me that goes across the board.
Yeah.
And that alone is that's a toxic culture there.
Look at cop work. Is there anybody here, Sal, don't raise your hand. Is there anybody here that shot someone in the line of duty? Okay.
Yes. Or no, sorry.
But,
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying right there. Like, there's times when I'm at work, like, I can't say it because we're live on YouTube, but you get that, like, guys that have killed someone in the line of duty are almost like more well respected. Like, he's a cop, he's a God's guy. Like, he blasted. He's not afraid to do it. He stepped up and he did what he had to do. And so you're almost like not a free pass, but you're almost like a made man in your agency that you work for. Like, oh yeah, dude, you've heard it. He shot like 7 people. He's a fucking legend, you know? But in all reality, that guy's probably going home at the end of the night like, fuck, you know, like having to relive every single stressful where he had to take a life. But let's just say he's not stressed about that. He probably almost fucking died. He just happened to win the gunfight.
All right, so there's 2 things. One is somehow, some way, we've got to stop this culture of having PTSD is a good thing. And I won't get on this soapbox, but I'll go down that road. There's people that think having ADD is a good thing. There's like,
hell yeah, they give you good medicine for that
like,
shit,
if
man.
you don't have something wrong with you, then what's wrong with you? And that's a whole nother podcast.
I want to know why he's not a convicted felon, this motherfucker shooting people.
But Bo,
The fuck? You got away with it?
You said it earlier, and that's exactly.
That's cool.
I want to dovetail on it, and I agree with you. Here's the problem I have with people having so much people having PTSD in a world of violent or just extreme profession as this. You're a firefighter with PTSD because you saw a kid in a car crash. What'd you think you were going to see? Did no one ever tell you that you raised your hand to save someone's life? What do you think you're going to see to save someone's life? Carnage. And I don't want to go too far in yours because that's for you to talk about. So I'm going to go back to the military. Oh, I saw someone die in combat and I have PTSD. What did you think combat was? People die. So if you have I'm going to go a step too far, and people can say whatever they want to me, and that's fine, I can take it. So if you have PTSD because you saw someone die in combat and you weren't expecting that, you're an idiot. Yes. I'll say it. You know what I mean? And that's not excusing everyone. There's no such thing as PTSD, is what I'm saying. But someone has to stop the craziness, and someone has to say something.
It takes leadership. When I got on the fire department, I had that experience of war, so I kind of knew a thing or two about it. But because it's so hard to talk about, human nature is to avoid it altogether. And as a leader, when you feel something that you want to avoid, that's the cue. That's your internal cue to lean into it and talk about it. So for me, as fire chief, I never gave a fuck about the color of my shirt. I didn't care about how many bugles were on my helmet. I cared mostly about the influence the position comes to do good for other human beings. So for my new hires, and I had a command climate as such that people would come to me and say, Bo, it was never chief. This is what's so special about this. Hey, Bo, I know you want us to have the message with the new hires that are just starting out, that have no experience to fall back on, but it will mean more coming from you than me, because I'm trying to develop leaders. So I'm trying other people to have that conversation. So you listen to your people, and you stand in front of the new hires before they even start a shift on the fire department, and you tell them, this job is going to fucking take everything from you. Conversely, it's going to give you everything. You are going to be experienced with trauma, death, but if you can take that obstacle, right, that problem and flip it up on its head, the obstacle is the way. When you're so intimate with death and you know with eyes and a heart wide open that you're coming into a service where you're going to be exposed to this stuff, it sets an expectation that it's going to happen. It's not a surprise when it does. But the message when they're brand new is that you are an enlightened human being when you deal with trauma, because you know how bad it is, therefore you know how beautiful it is, right? Everything for me, and it took a long time to get here, everything for me is so beautiful. Everything, because I know how dark it can get. So let's use that to enlighten our soul, enlighten the outlook on our life. It's hard to do, right? It's very hard to do. I remember I came home and it was, drink your problems away. That was how we dealt with it. And so I tried to do that, but what I found, and this is why I don't drink, when I'm drinking, I'm not present. Every day is so hard. Every day I'm hurting. We're human beings. To live is to suffer. It's an active suffering process. Every day is hard. And then I found, as I'm listening to these giants that came before me drink it away, so I'm drinking. And now
That's buffed energy. That's not alcohol. by the
That's
way.
true.
For our
None of
sponsor, who's sitting over here, we're going to hear a word from him in a minute, but that is not alcohol.
But for me, when I would drink, my guard would come down, and I wasn't able to fight all the pain that I was experiencing. And Jordan Peterson says it all the time: don't add to your suffering. You got to hit the kill switch. If you're hurting, hit the kill switch. And I would tell my people, when you get stuck and you don't know what to do, you had a bad shift, your fucking bucket's pouring out with all the bullshit you just got exposed to. If you just love one thing, no matter what it is, and you put love into it, find where it takes you. Find where the love of one thing, whether it's hugging your wife more or being more present with your kids, and you start to find your way, that path comes back to you. So it's important to set that example right from the get-go that you're going to be exposed to it. Absolutely, 100%.
There's a couple things I want to touch on that I really like that you said. One thing, special operations generally has the lowest rate of PTSD, yet sees the most action. And people always want to know, like, how is that so? It kind of doesn't make sense right off the bat. My answer to that is training. And the training says, in training all the time, they mentally prepare you and say, you're going to see this is going to happen, you're going to carry your dead buddy to the helicopter, this is going to happen, and it's always told to you in training. And then when you see it, I remember the first time I saw it, and carried my dead teammate to a helicopter. The first thing I remember thinking to myself was, this is exactly what they told me I was going to do. And I was mentally prepared for it. So having a senior tell you, these are the bad things that you're going to see, be prepared for it, but more importantly, I've seen it, and you can see this and you can be okay.
That's right.
But if you're not, because everyone is different, you can talk to me. But I say it over and over again. If you tell someone all the time you're going to see something bad, and when you do, you will be a broken man and you will have PTSD, guess what? That's what he's going to do, because you just told him that.
Yes,
but it doesn't have to be that way.
That's right. And you tell the new guys coming in that, here's the deal, right? We learn the hard way. How many times in my heart, never mind the head, in my heart and my soul, one of the guys that I serve with, who I thought something was wrong, and I should have fucking asked him, are you okay, brother? But no, we don't want to have that tough conversation. We want to avoid it. We don't want to lean into it. He gets too far off the reservation, and then he kills himself. But there were pre-incident indicators, right? Why didn't we ask? Why didn't I say, brother,
Right.
are you okay?
Your teammates know. Your closest of kin know. Your closest teammates know.
100%. And so with these new guys coming in, we tell them, look, if you're hurting, my commitment to you and everybody else, every other leader, every other peer, is that if we think something is off, another human being is going to come to you and give you that, brother, are you okay? And if you're not, you be forthcoming. We'll figure it out. We'll work through it. We'll get through the fire of life together.
And this
be
is in the
stronger
fire
for it.
department?
Fire department.
See, we can't do that in the police department.
Why?
It's a stigma. If they find out, you go to EAD for help, you have PTSD.
Yeah,
you're
first
gonna be
it's
on
like,
the
let
shelf.
me get that gun. All
Yeah,
right.
you're done, man.
Now that you're on light duty, until further notice, tell us about your problems. And as a cop, you're like, damn, now you're taking report calls for dumb shit while your boys are out there getting bad guys. And then you're going to say whatever it is, just like the civilians. Yeah, like when we take a civilian in for an involuntary check-in, right, against their will, they're in custody for their own well-being. All they have to do is tell a doctor, I'm fine. I don't know why this cop took me in. The doctor's got so many more fucking patients to deal with. If they don't go, yeah, doc, I'm fucked up, they're just gonna go, okay, you're out, bye. So, and it's, and to be fair, in the comments section, there's a lot of people saying, like, I don't want my cops on psychedelics. That's fair. Also, I probably don't want my cops struggling with mental issues. So maybe the answer is, like, acute trauma, constantly, like, dealing with it in a good way, as opposed to maybe, because if it does lead up to one thing, it might be where that cop doesn't need to be out there currently at the moment. But I think what you're saying is that, like, 99% of the people out there that maybe want to go to therapy or something, they don't need to have their gun taken away.
Right.
They just need to have therapy and talk.
But Tyler, we've had this conversation, and I might word it wrong for right here, but who's your best psychologist? Who knows you best? Who should give you the best information? Who's your best psychologist?
Me.
That's right. Your teammates, you, your wife, your teammates, they know you the best. And I'm not sitting here saying, the mental health professionals are useless. The problem I have is this, is that so fast in this society, we're so quick to say, oh, and we just said this and agreed with it. The teammates know someone has a problem quicker than anyone else. And then we go, hey, you should go see a mental health professional. That's the wrong answer. How about and the answer to that is this. I don't want you to be my problem, and I don't have time to deal with you. You go deal with someone else. Take the time out of your life, deal with this guy at the lowest level, and maybe we can get it solved here. And when I say the lowest level, not just the lowest, the best, because whatever he's dealing with, you know as a teammate more than anyone else exactly what he's dealing with. The health professionals, they're great, at an academic level, but they never pulled a dead kid out of a car. They never put a dead teammate onto a helicopter. So although they are academically maybe the best, that doesn't mean they can exactly correlate with you. So let's do that first, and that type of help isn't going to get you pulled from your job. So let's do that first. And if I can't help you, then let's send you up. Then let's send you to the next level. Can we agree with that?
That's why the best time in the firehouse is at shift change. It's ball busting time. 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. You're eating breakfast, ripping coffee, talking with the boys. 3 o'clock they come back in. The ball busting's where it happens. That's where you break it down. You're 100% right. Your guys on your shift know you the best, and at that point when you're breaking balls, it's like, yeah, that guy seems off. All right, let's do a fishing trip. Let's do a shift something. But without that time in the morning and the evening, I would not survive. I know that for a fact. Sitting around the kitchen table, even if you're picking on the new guy, hey, you feel better about yourself. But you know what? You got some stuff off your chest, and he needs to be able to handle it, because I think that stuff there prepares you when you are, going in and pulling kids out, and you see dead bodies and carnage and everything else. That's where it happens. You got your balls busted. You're ready for this, So I don't know. That's what worked for us anyway.
Hey, can you introduce yourself real quick?
Oh, yeah, sure. Hey, everybody. I'm Ian with Buffed Energy, Brotherhood Buffs. But I was a fireman for the city of Baltimore for about 14 years, a little over 14 years. Worked pretty much everywhere you see the wire, the heart of West Baltimore for the better part of my career.
Great show.
It's all true. We were, during the riots, the CVS that was on fire was 6 blocks from our firehouse. So spent a lot of time in the good parts of the city. But I was able to quit through real estate. We've talked a lot about a lot of this stuff, on the outside looking in. It's like, God damn, we beat our boys up. But that's what we did. I was a fireman and enjoyed it. And now we have this energy drink and looking to support first responders. So excited for that.
Awesome. Where can people get Buff? Is it in stores yet? And if it's not, where can they get it?
As of right now, it's on officialbuffedenergy.com. We completely sold out in 5 weeks of our first production run. The support's been absolutely amazing. So you can go to officialbuffedenergy.com and check out. I think we have pre-orders up, right, Sean? Because we're pretty much all the way sold out. And
is it by the case?
Yeah, by the case, or you can do 6-packs or 12-packs.
Okay.
So.
And look, I'm drinking this shit. It's good. It's actually good. I thought, to be honest with you, when I drank it, I was like, this is just gonna taste like another fucking energy drink. But it is good. And that goes to show too, man. Firefighters. One guy goes, hey, I need more work. He goes and starts cutting hair. Every single firefighter is gonna go get his hair cut by that guy because they're not toxic and they're supportive of their brothers. Cops, on the other hand,
Their own worst
I'm gonna
enemy.
call in and get a complaint, get that guy shut down because he's a shitbag. So go support Buffed Energy. They sponsored this whole thing. They
Yes.
paid for all of it. So
Great stuff. Thank you.
buy a couple cases.
Hey, one thing about the product, to be clear, is we went to our formulator and said, hey man, we want to make something that you had a horrible night at work, you got to go hang out with your family, you want to be present, you want to have the mental clarity, you want to have energy, it would have been easy to go make another sugary drunk drink because firemen will literally buy anything, but we wanted something that was actually legitimate. So we have caffeine and theanine that's paired properly so you don't crash. We have CoQ10 for mental clarity. We have blueberry extract in there. We have minerals. And we made it as healthy as we could without tasting horrible. So it's kind of rides that border, but there's no sugar, 10 calories, and enjoy it. I think there's still some free samples over there at Sean. And
It's good.
thanks, everyone.
Thank you, brother.
So, Tyler, in the chat, she said, we don't want our cops taking psychedelics. Is that what he said?
Yeah. Some people were, they're coming.
That's the stigma that comes with this medicine, plant-based medicine. It's not dropping acid and tripping balls. A lot of people are on ibogaine, which is like one treatment, and it's something that you can't really abuse because the cycle of it is terrible. It's horrible, and it's something that people are only really taking one time, and the results are amazing. So the stigma behind the psychedelics, the psilocybin, is something that I would like to see combated, and people really need to take some time and look into it. It's not dropping acid and having a good time with your boys at Grateful Dead concert. It's actually medicine. It's helping people. It's rewiring people's brains, and it's doing things that conventional medicine can't do.
Well, and the whole point of this here is to, we're all either cops or cops. Holy fuck, that thing is impressive. That was the size of like 2 Applebee's put together. And, and they had bartenders, waiters, they had event halls.
Is that where the after party is?
I wish. But it's shit like that. It's the unions. Now, down south in Florida where we're from, unions have no power. It's not like up here in the north. Unions still have some fucking pull. Down south, if a sheriff says, I want to fire that guy, and all right, yeah, you can sue him later. It'll take 2 years. You'll get 2 years salary. That's fine. But he'll fire you. Up here in the north, a chief goes, I want to fire him. The union's like, go suck our dicks. You're not going to just fire somebody like that. And you can get your job back.
It's tough.
It took him 5 years to get me.
So, I mean, it takes people like the FOP vice president. What's his name? Joe Guatemala?
I don't know.
We met him at street cop training.
Oh.
He's a firecracker of a dude. And
The national FOP?
Yes.
Vice
vice president.
All jacked up. Yeah. I know.
The vice president. He's a young guy. And it takes shit like that. Like the unions have to step up and go, and cops in general have to go, listen, we need for our mental health, and just not cops, first responders in general. We work for the government. Yes, I get it. But the things that people that work for the government, whether it be war fighting, police officers, EMS, fire, you go and look at and see and do the things voluntarily that the rest of society chooses to believe doesn't exist. So the car accident, how many times, in civilian life, and I do it too because I'm not trying to get jammed up, but you drive by and you're like, that looks like a really shitty accident, but there's first responders dealing with that accident, and they're going to deal with it every single day. Guys that have gone to war are going to come home, and as loving as people are to our veterans today, as opposed to like the Vietnam era, they just don't understand. I mean, I'm a firm believer, Brent, I love you, but the more time you spend being a warfighter, the harder it is for you to kind of in social environments, you have to how long since you've been retired, have you noticed that it's taken a long time for you to come into a setting like this and just be cool?
This is going to sound unhumble, but the truth is I've never had an issue reintegrating. But this is just me and my mind thought, and so it doesn't mean that I put my standards on everyone else. I've never came home after a deployment and thought every piece of trash on the side of the road was going to blow up because it was an IED. But that's just me. I've never driven under an overpass and said, oh, there might be an ambush on that overpass. That's just me. So I've never had that issue, which at the end of the day, it doesn't make me on this high horse because I don't think very highly of myself, to be honest with you. And if I can do it, I know it's possible that anyone could do it, but it doesn't make me think less of anyone who can't. which I know probably wasn't, maybe not, took a little steam out of
Yeah,
the
you fucking
question.
killed it, Brent. Thanks. no, but no, I mean, I noticed, like, you know, just people that have seen things like that. It's the cliche, like, when you get to, like, me and you are at a party, right? We go, our wives are at a work party. We just happen to be the husbands. And I'm like, oh, you're a firefighter? We're gonna end up going to the corner and talking about our culture to where other people just can't understand it. And you don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be the guy that's like, bro, I saw this fucking decapitated dude in this car accident, because it's just gonna kill the mood. But you know, so I feel like no matter what medication, you know, no matter what we try, no matter what, you are choosing to do that life, and you are always going to be a little bit different, because you are choosing to look at and see and experience things that, and you're taking that burden off the rest of society. You're saying I'm gonna sound cheesy as fuck. You're saying send me, right? And then when you say send me, and then they send you, you're gonna see all that shit, so the rest of people can't see it.
Yeah. But
It's fun though.
It is fun. That's a good point.
That's
You
what you should
signed
tell
up.
them. That's what you should tell
Let me
them.
tell you
It's fun.
something. I loved every fucking day.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
loved it.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
saw death, despair. I robbed people. I didn't give a. I loved it. I didn't want a 3-day swing to come. I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna miss shit.
The adrenaline was just not enough for
It was
you.
Great.
You know,
It was great.
Tyler, on
and
your
you-
point, you said people don't want to see cops on psychedelics, is what you said, right?
Well, I didn't say it. The comments.
Well, the comments.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Someone. That's what you said, that via the comment section.
Yeah.
So if that's not an option to us, what is a legal coping mechanism?
Sex.
Yeah.
What is
Oh,
a-
yeah.
what is
I
a-
get what you're throwing down. I get what you're
What
throwing
is
down.
a legal coping mechanism?
One-
Alcohol.
Yep.
Alcohol is a legal coping mechanism.
And, you know-
Wait a
let me
minute,
tell you
wait a
what
minute,
we
wait a
don't
minute.
want: a bunch of functioning alcoholics as your first responders and veterans. But that's what we have. Go ahead, doctor.
You can just call me Natanya, but I heard that
Doctor.
little comment about
Dr. Natanya.
I don't want my-
You earned it. You
I
earned
don't
it.
want,
You'll get
I
doctor.
don't want cops on psychedelics. I was like, come on. Well, that was a very silly comment, because do you want them drunk? Do you want them high? Like, we're talking about clinical treatment that
Right.
is legal with a medical professional
Right.
to help rewire your brain. If you should happen to want that or need that, it just should be available to you. That's all we're trying to say, not go out on the beat and be, you know, because you can be very affected. You could be so stressed out in a rage and be not really the best to show up and be a hero either, right? So it's a silly kind of statement to say. It's not for us to say, I think. That's the point, right? Like, what works for you works for you. I don't think it has to be a therapist. I don't think it has to be a psychiatrist that you seek to get help. I really like what you said about who knows you the best and who can help buoy you, and really you can feel trust to tell them your real shit.
Right.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Be vulnerable.
And be vulnerable.
All right. So,
So
on-
yeah, but come on, just obviously we're talking about responsible, careful, appropriate
Yeah,
use
right.
of these treatments.
All right, I've never gone through anything. I've never been in a shooting as a cop. So, as much as I try and speak on it, because I do have a voice in this platform, you know, we've had people on that have been. We've had guests on that have been in like 5, 6, 7 shootings, and that's just, you know, I don't know. You know,
Every
yeah.
weekend. They have a shooting a weekend. These
Yeah,
motherfuckers.
but-
I did 10 years in East New York, the most
Have
dangerous
you ever been in a
place-
shooting?
The most dangerous place in the world. I fired a refrigerator once. Just I said that thing will never move again. I mean, come on. The these guys, some guys, like, that's what they do.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
they find shootings. I mean,
Or that, or
for
St.
real.
Michael's
I
like,
mean,
go.
some
send
guys
him,
find them,
Send that
you know?
guy. He's the angel of death.
some guys you got to stay away from.
I'd like to thank our sponsors today, Martina White. Friends of Martina White can visit votemartina.com for more information about the work Martina's been doing as a state representative in Pennsylvania. And let me tell you, Mike, she's a big supporter of police. She backs the blue. She's a proven fighter for families, women, everybody.
Is she a patriot? Is she America first?
Absolutely, she encompasses, the American spirit for sure. We have a big population of listeners in Northeast Philadelphia, Southeast Pennsylvania, which would be her area. So you can check her out.
Has
Vote
she
Martina.
been in? I'm not familiar with the Philly district. Is she new to the scene, or is she looking for re-election?
She'll be up for re-election in a couple years, but she's been around for a while. She has a proven track record.
Okay.
You can check her out. Her record really speaks for itself, especially when it comes to fighting for everyday citizens and backing the blue.
It's nice to have someone back in the blue. I mean, these officers are out there risking their lives every day, and with little pay and little appreciation in today's environment, it's been very difficult. And as you know, being a Philadelphia guy,
Unfortunately, that's something that's not common. Should be. It used to be a time where both sides of the aisle agreed on law enforcement, and that's something that's completely lacking. But with Martina White, she steps up to the plate, always has our backs, and does what's right.
great. Good luck with Martina.
Yeah, you can get more information at votemartina.com. I'd like to thank our title sponsor of the show, Adams Renzi Law, AR Law. They can be found at arjusticenow.com. And just to let you know, I know both of them personally. Christy, one of the nicest people you'll ever meet, total sweetheart, absolute pit bull in the courtroom. And Nick Renzi, he's a South Philadelphia guy, true and true, neighborhood man. He's for the people. He helps people out down in South Philly, all around Philadelphia.
Their office is in South Philly itself.
Yes, their office is in right around South Philly, Center City, right on the
Do
border.
they handle
there.
a lot of criminal cases?
They handle everything, absolutely.
Are they on call 24/7 for someone who
always-
might take a pinch somewhere?
Why, you might be taking
Well,
a
I
pinch
mean,
that we know about?
you never know. I mean, wherever you show up, you got to be ready.
Well, you can keep their card on you.
Well,
Or
there
go
you
to
go.
their
Well,
website
well,
and
good,
call
good.
them up.
Will they give me a deal since they're sponsors of the show?
You might get a percentage off. I'll have to talk to her.
Okay. Yeah.
If you used them a few years ago, you might have not have gotten 14 years.
Well, that's another story.
Another story for another time.
That's right.
Again, AR Law, check them out, arjusticenow.com. We would also like to thank our sponsor, Beyond.O. In today's world, your business is practically invisible if you're not online. With so many options for marketing your business, it's easy to get confused. That's where Beyond.O Creative steps in. They have the expertise to help you with all of your marketing needs. Need a website that wows visitors? They'll build it. Want to reach more customers with Google Ads? They'll make it happen. They'll even manage your social media so you can focus on what you do best. Beyond.O Creative is A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau and Google Premier Partner. They're the real deal. If you're ready to take your online presence to the next level, visit beyondocreative.com. That's BIONDOCREATIVE.com or call 267-362-WEB1, Web 1, to discuss your project now. I'd like to thank our sponsor, Morrow Flooring, hardwood, laminate, vinyl, tile, and carpet, military first responder discount. You know, Tommy, we had him as a guest on a podcast. You can get your flooring done by a real American hero.
Yeah, and he's on time and on budget.
Yes, he is. He will beat any price. Bring a quote, an estimate, whatever you have. Tommy will beat it, 100% guaranteed. You have our backing on that one.
And he'll be there himself.
Absolutely. You can get a real American hero do your flooring for you.
But we do have somebody
Crazy.
that was here on episode 89 of the Anti-Hero Podcast. He was not on the episode. However, his mom and dad came on to talk about with something that he went through. So, Sal, will you come up here? So there's a lot, about 90% we're not going to be able to talk about, but Sal went through something that was traumatic for anybody. And one of those things, I always say this about being a cop too. You make fun of cops all you want, but 1 second you're talking with your zone partner about what you're going to eat for dinner, and then within a 2-minute time, if you could fast forward, you could be in a shooting. And it's like that. The tone goes out. You're like, shit, I'm like right around the corner. And then that shit happens. So, Sal, you were, and if I ask you anything that you don't want to answer because it's live on YouTube, just say, not going to talk about that, can't talk about that. But just what you went through, are you allowed to talk about that? Just the scene itself? Like,
I can't talk to anything about the incident or what occurred, but I could talk about like what my current status is and what I went through, like mentally, physically, what happened after the.
Okay, so vaguely, you were in a shooting.
Involved in a critical incident, yep.
Okay, which is what it turned into that.
Yep.
Critical incident.
And basically after that, I was cleared. I went back to work a month later. I was back to work 2 years. I was promoted to an art agency. I was promoted to a corporal. Got Officer of the Year for a second time. Was living life. I was getting ready to get married. Found out my wife was pregnant, and then I was indicted 2 years later with second-degree reckless manslaughter after I was cleared and went back to work. It's been a struggle on and off with mental health and just financially. It's just been a big thing, but I've been striving, pushing forward. My wife, my daughter, is what keeps me moving every day, and it's the biggest thing for me.
So we can comment on it, right? So for the audience out there who haven't seen it, for the audience that hasn't seen the shooting, it's actually like a textbook shooting if you want it to be in one, for a police department. If you're doing a training video, you would show this shooting, and you would look at it, and there's not a damn thing wrong with it. Bad guy pointed a gun at cops. Cops shot the bad guy. I mean, it's textbook. As you can see, he was put back to work. Officer of the Year.
Back in the day, you would have been at lunch and handling calls 2 hours later.
Yeah.
It was pretty textbook.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that cut and dry. You really don't get that more cut and dry than what happened. He's one of the better cops in New Jersey right now. Well, his old partner's out here right now. Where are you at? Could you stand up? So, Sal is a very humble person. He's a really good kid. Sal, I believe, saved your life, correct? Right? You were a victim of a shooting. You're bleeding out. Shot in the right leg. And Sal applied a tourniquet, saved your life, rushed you to the hospital. Right? That's second. Yeah. I mean, that's the kind of cop Sal is. Well, it's a new police department. So this is the guy you want in your police department. He was the trainer of the police department, Officer of the Year, saving lives, and you have a piece of shit Attorney General Platkin, a Soros-backed scumbag, comes
Allegedly.
in, trying to make a name
This is
for
not
himself.
coming from Sal.
No, it's all coming from me. Platkin's a piece of shit. He's Soros-backed, and he's trying to make a name for himself, and he's doing it on the backs of cops like Sal. And I've had other police officers from Jersey reach out to me, I'm sure you have too, Tyler, that are going through the same thing. He's digging up old cases because they hate the police. That's what they do. So I really, you can check out Sal's episode on the Good Cop, Bad Cop, or Anti-Hero. They also did a podcast, and it breaks down the
Episode
video.
89.
It breaks it down really well. Yeah, he can't talk about it. His parents can, we can. Platkin's a piece of shit.
But all right, but afterwards, it's just not it's not just the psychological shit that you go through, but it's like you said, when this happened, all of a sudden now your pay's gone.
Yeah, everything's gone. And then even when you go back to work, you're in a capacity now where you're second guessing everything you do.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to underreact, you don't want to overreact. You still have a job to do, and it's a tough place to be in. And
He wasn't allowed to leave New Jersey till today.
Yeah.
Did you have to get permission to leave New Jersey?
I just got permission to be able to leave New Jersey. I've been in New Jersey, stuck in that state
damn,
for
dude.
2 years. Couldn't
I
leave.
know people fucking on probation that are able to travel with multiple felony charges,
Dude,
but
there's people out in the street here in Philly that just shot someone 6 hours ago and they're out. I mean,
Yeah, like the crazy thing is I went back to work for 2 years, and guys who I worked on the same shift with, who were like even our lieutenants and captains stuff who I would get lunch with, or whatever the case is, because we have a smaller department, I can't even have conversations with them, but I was back to work with them for the last 2 years, and we're a pretty tight-knit department. Like, we always have holidays together, or we're always at parties for each other, and now I can't talk to any of them guys, which is a big thing, too, because that was, like Brent was just saying, those are guys who I talk to for, like, mental health stuff, or I would just, whatever it was, where we could work things out, and you'd be feeling better mentally. But I can't talk to any of them guys after I was back to work with them for 2 years, so it makes no sense.
yeah, that makes absolutely no sense. And on top of it, even if he wasn't able, how many former cops are in here? Used to be on the job. All right, for better, for worse, whether it was your choice or not, when you turn in your badge, how many guys actually hit you up just to hang out? It's the most wild fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. And I get it. Someone gets fired, like Mike, let's just say you get in trouble, you're terminated, you're not a cop anymore. Statistically, out of hundreds of fucking friends, someone should go, I know you're going through it, bro, but whenever you get a chance to, let's go grab a beer. Like, I'm your friend. I know other than fucking touching kids and, raping women, other than that shit, everything you do, I can forgive as your friend to, let's go figure this out. Statistically, there should be one or two. There's never any. And even if you leave on a good note, there hopefully is still a handful of guys that you're like, wow, I never expected this guy to call me. Like, I expected these guys to call me, my squad, but it's the dude that I was on a squad with 7 years ago that I end up going to have a beer with. So, not only are you going through what you're going through, but you're also going through, you're out of the loop. So therefore, no one's really going to reach out to you.
Yeah, like I had guys who I never even thought that would talk to me or didn't really talk to. They're reaching out to me, and then guys who I thought were my friends, you don't even hear from them.
Yeah.
So it's a complete flip, and the good outlet to that is one of who was my sergeant, now he's a lieutenant, great guy. On like Tuesdays and Thursdays, he has a jiu-jitsu gym. It's free for cops, so that's a little bit of an outlet to go to. And I was out at a loop for a little bit, starting to go back to that, and it was good for them guys from there just to reach out to me like, hey man, just come to class, which is cool. It's
Yeah, and that in itself, like, we're cops, nobody is going to tell me that I can't call my buddy, and no one is going to tell me that I can't have contact with somebody that's my friend. I get it. For their sake, you can't talk about a case because that's all they want you to do. They want you to talk about something, slip up. So that being said, is there gag orders where you cannot physically contact people or they can't contact you?
So part of my release conditions, because I was in jail, they tried to keep me detained in jail, then I got them released, so I was out of jail. But basically, I can't have contact with anybody, anyone from the department, really, who would be considered a witness.
That shit's wild, dude. Wow.
Again,
what a day to be a cop.
You got to watch the video. It's so cut and dry. It's ridiculous.
You said he was Soros backed?
Oh, yeah.
Soros?
Yep.
So how do
Yeah.
you find that out? What?
It's open. It's open. Like George Soros is like, I publicly
he came out and...
The Real Justice PAC, I believe, donated and funded to his campaign, which is a big arm of George Soros.
For the attorney general or...
We had him in Central Florida, and DeSantis came in and got rid of two of them, and then they were voted back in by the sheep that live in Florida. But I mean, there's only so much. A governor can only go so many times. Like, I'm forcibly removing you from office because you are actively targeting cops, and you're not actively targeting people that want you. Like the same one in Florida.
Targeting's illegal, so I don't get how this is all.
We have the
able to play
poster
out.
child for George Soros district attorneys in Philly, Larry Krasner. He's the model for everyone across the country.
Okay.
Yeah, and so let me give you this, for instance. Monique Sorrell or some shit like that, she's the one in Florida. There was an instance in Florida back in like 2017 or something where an Orlando police sergeant was shot execution style in a Walmart parking lot. I can't remember that shitbag's name, nor does it matter. There was a bolo put out for him for days, and they finally found him. They took him into custody. Quick, short little story in that when they found him, the bird was overhead, and they had the Marshals Task Force getting him out. And all of a sudden, you see a foot go flying from one of those task force guys, and that camera from that bird shoots up real quick. And he lost his eye somehow during that apprehension. We don't know how that happened.
Good camera operator.
But anyways, she refused to go after the death penalty for this guy. So it's like that. Like you execute a cop fleeing from justice, and we're taking the death penalty off the table. However, she wants to go after cops for justified shooting. Now I'm telling you this. The state of Florida, the FDLE, has cleared this guy. Once it leaves the state investigating agency, then it goes to the agent itself. His own agency cleared him of all wrongdoing. And then they have a grand jury behind his back, right? His lawyer calls him and goes, dude, I got some fucking bad news and some really fucking bad news. They had a grand jury trial without me knowing. You weren't there. You have a warrant out for your arrest for aggravated battery with a firearm. So the whole chain of command had to walk him in and turn him into the jail where he takes people. He was on a proactive squad. He takes people there every fucking night. And now he's being walked in there for a justified shooting cleared by the state of fucking Florida. And they're still fucking trying him. It's just like Sal. It's fucking sick. But to answer your question, that's what I mean.
But what makes them keep pushing? Like, if they were cleared, what makes them keep going after this one person or this particular case?
Because, well, first off, George Soros wants the destabilization of Western
Right,
society,
right,
right?
yeah.
So the only way to do that is to take the trust away from the society and law enforcement, right? So it's, and I use this comparison all the time. To disrupt a household, you're going to go really and tell the whole family, don't trust the dad, the guy taking care of you, the authority figure, don't trust him, he's bad.
Right, yeah.
So then all of your kids go, Dad, this guy's telling me you're bad, right? So that's what they're doing. So the best way to destabilize a country is at first, right then and there. I know I'm getting conspiracy, guys. I'll quit in about 30 seconds. But is to make the people afraid of law enforcement. And that's what they're doing.
It's absolutely to destabilize the country. I mean, he caught us asleep at the wheel. Genius plan, really. Take us down from the inside. Larry Krasner in Philadelphia, there's about 20-plus people that would be alive today, and I can back that statement up with receipts, would be alive today, staggering number, 20 people, if he was never the district attorney, including Jimmy Connor, who was a SWAT cop. He releases violent criminals from prison. He plays a game in the court. He lets them go, low or no bail, drops charges, and these are very, very violent people. The juvenile system in Philadelphia, carjackings have been through the roof. That's because the juveniles, and they're going through juvenile court out the back door 5 or 6 hours of process, but they're not stealing retail theft. These are shootings and robberies, pulling of guns, and they're going right back on the street. And a kid gets caught doing something, and there's you're not getting in trouble, you're going to keep doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's Philadelphia. It's in a bad way because of Larry Krasner, and this is what's been modeled across the country. And it's to collapse our society.
And the destabilization, it's not just, that's the law enforcement. That's what we deal with. But, I mean, it's in everywhere. It's in your home. Telling the nuclear family that you'll be okay. Telling split homes, and I'm not sounding like a sex piece of shit, but telling women, you're fine, you don't need a man, right? So so they kill the nuclear family already. They got that. And then the next step is to cause distrust between the public and authority. And then I don't even know what the third step is, but...
I just thought the other side of that, as soon as you said that, and society does that, does say that. Hey, as a female, you be a strong female, you're fine. You don't need a man. Has anyone ever told a man, hey, you're fine, you don't need a woman? Have we ever said that? Would any man ever agree to that?
No, every man would be like, where the fuck's your wife, dude?
Yeah.
Someone lost a husband.
I said that to a woman once. I was on a date, and she said, I have my own money. I don't need a man. And I said to her, I can cook, I can clean, I can iron. What do I need a woman for? What's in it for me?
Heartache and misery.
I'm at a loss for words right now. I was waiting for the punchline of the joke, and it was just sad.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, right.
The point is, the women are out there, and I could...
Yeah,
I can only speak for the dating sites.
This is honest conversation.
I can only speak about the dating sites and the single groups I'm in on Facebook. They all talk about how they don't need a man, they don't need a man, they don't need a man, but yet they expect the man to pay for everything and they expect the man to do everything. You can't be a modern progressive woman and still expect tradition.
But that's on men today. Like that, men today have allowed men to tell women that they don't need men.
Because
right?
the men in the group, in all those things group, go, man pays for everything. Like the woman says to me, I was raised that the man pays for everything. He takes care of the woman. And I said, I was raised to take care of a woman. That doesn't mean I pay for everything. It means I take care of you. Now, look, I don't need a woman's money. I don't. I'm not asking a woman to take me out and pay for the stuff. But the point is the expectation. I know this kind of went in a different direction.
No, you're good.
No, this is good.
But what you were saying is, you're right. Men don't stand up and say, I don't need a woman. And they should. The way women claim that they don't need a man, men should stand up and say, I don't need a woman.
Well, but I said this last night at dinner, and I'm a firm believer that, any strong man is not going to be at his peak, strongest
fact
without the right woman being the yin to his yang.
Right.
Agreed, 100%. The chief said it earlier that without his wife behind him, he wouldn't have been able to make the decisions, and he fortunately made the right decisions because his wife was there to help him. You know,
I would say you're not wrong, but what you said would be like a negative view about it. There's a lot of things I don't need in my life, you know. So to say you don't need a woman, women could say the same thing. They don't need a man, but it's not about what you need. It's about what enhances your life. It's about it's about what makes it better. And we should absolutely make each other's lives better. But I would argue this: women probably, generally speaking, may not need a man because of the type of men we have in this world today. Be a man that a woman can't live without, and I'd give the same challenge to woman.
100%.
Be a woman that a man can't live without, and when both people have that mindset, that's when we'll have a good relationship and a good nucleus of the family.
And I agree with that 100%. It's everybody's out there saying, I don't need, instead of looking for, as you said, the one that's going to enhance our lives.
Right. Yeah, don't settle for sure. Don't settle.
Right. Yeah.
You know, but if I don't know, I just the cynical mindset of on both sides, like I don't need no man, I don't need no woman. I mean, I just don't think you're going to be at the optimal level of life. You could take all the TRT and your butt cheek you want, but at the end of the day, you do need a yin to your yang. So.
Well, I think a good example is that was, Bo Butler was up here, obviously, and his wife, Amanda. I told him when I saw his video for the first time, I said, I didn't just see him up there. I was like, I know this guy's got a family behind him.
Yeah.
Like, I know he's got a strong wife. So, like you said, you won't be at your peak, but Amanda, I could tell he had a strong family behind him. That's why he was able to do what he did.
Well, look at anything like this, right? You live a very complex lifestyle. You got a lot of stress going on. You have multiple people. Let's say you're in a shooting, right? You got lawyers, union guys, fucking criminal defense, shit talkers, social media, people trying to kill you. All of this going on. Who do you fucking go to? I can't, go to your union. You rep the lawyer's like, hey, let's not do that. Union rep's going, oh, fucking, the lawyers just want money. You got to have somebody that has your best interest in mind when you go to console them about any advice. Like, what should I do? Because your well-being means that's also her and her family's well-being. So she's not going to, she's not going to give you bad advice. She's going to be the only person in the world, whether or not it's your best friends, your coworkers, your business partners, she's going to be the one that goes, this is what I suggest you do because your best interest in mind.
Yeah, like I could speak for my wife. I remember I got my phone call when I was in jail, and I called her on the phone. We weren't even married at that point. We were engaged. And I called her on the phone, and we were supposed to have our cake tasting the next day. So she's going to the cake tasting with her mom. And I said, you don't have to stand by me and deal with all this. Like, if you want to leave, like, you're free to leave. Like, we're not married. This is going to be a whole lot of stress for you to deal with. And she said, no, I'm going to be right here every step of the way, and you're going to come out on top of this. And throughout this whole process, I get my moments where I go through it, and I look at there's times where I get up and I'm with my daughter early in the morning, and I'm looking at her and we're laughing and playing, and I just look at her and I think, I can't lose my daughter, I can't lose my wife, and I get into the conversation of that with her, and she's like, you're not going anywhere because you didn't do anything wrong, you're going to come out on top, and she's been there every step of the way, and that's really what has been pushing me and motivating me to just keep my faith, keep strong, is her. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be doing as well as I am.
Absolutely. And you said this a little bit earlier, Tyler. We live in the greatest country in the world. We live in the greatest country that the world has ever seen to this date. And no one is ever going to take down this country externally. And I do believe this, and you know this, I'm not a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, you're no fun, bro.
I love shutting down conspiracy theories.
You shut it down on Sean Ryan's fucking live. Everybody's like, God, man, Brent.
But this is just irrefutable. No one, China, Russia, they can join forces. No one is coming across that pond and taking down America. 100% guaranteed. The only person taking down America is America. And the only way to take down America is through division. The only way to take down America is pitting men against women, pitting black against white, pitting Democrats against Republicans. You go down the list, pitting the haves against the have-nots. That is the only thing that's going to take down America. And to give them a tip of the hat, to be honest with you, however it is they decided they were going to do it, however long they've been plotting it, they have done an amazing job of that execution. That's a tip of the hat to them, and that should be a slap in the face to us for taking that bait.
Well, there's a really, I could never find it, but there is a video of a Russian, I don't know what the hell he is, but he talks about destabilizing America. It's gonna,
right. It's the KGB.
Yeah, it's gonna take generations of patience, but you look back at when that was filmed, and then you look at today, you're like, holy shit, they did it.
Yeah, nailed it. Just step by step by step. They've executed it. With no, it was a KGB Russia thing. They've executed it flawlessly.
You didn't look Chinese.
No, and I hate to say this, it's so ridiculous because outside influence, you can blame outside influence all you want. It goes back to the family being raised right. Just saying no. I don't accept that argument. Most people here, like for you, in your family, you just didn't accept that argument, and you've decided to make your wife a priority, and your wife has decided to make you a priority, and there's no argument between who needs who and who doesn't. I don't know. This is the part I don't know. I don't know how we've accepted it, but I know this. The simple answer is just this. You don't have to accept it. And as far apart as Republicans and Democrats are, and I get that. I mean, I could, gosh, don't get me wrong. I could sit here and argue with myself about this. But I assure you, the only thing we talk about is what we disagree on. You're going to sit here and tell me that Republicans and Democrats don't agree on something, and there's not something we can use to put this thing forward? I don't buy that. But the only thing that gets clicks, the only thing that gets traction, the only thing people care about is drama and us versus them.
And controversy.
And controversy, absolutely.
So the last thing we're going to talk about before we end this and then we have beers with all of you guys and hang out is I want Reagan to talk about what he wanted to talk about, and then we got on a tangent. He didn't even get to talk about it. The wildfires in LA and diversity in the fire department. And I want your opinion on that, and then we're going to, as non-firefighters, we're going to give our opinion on it. So take this mic.
I don't really want to talk about it.
You don't want to talk about it? Why?
I talked to somebody before, and I don't think I have all the facts yet. So if I was to go on here and spit and I would be taken away from the guys that are in LA fighting the fire right now. So if I was to go on here and throw my conspiracy theories around and not acknowledge what they're doing.
You don't need proof, dude. You just start saying shit.
I mean, I love shooting from the hip, but I mean, they're sending me videos of them actively, this one fireman who he lost his home and he's sending me videos of it. So I sit here and I feel bad if I was to just sit here and shoot from the hip and not have all my facts straight. So I was going to just pop off on all my conspiracy theories, but I feel like I would be taken away from them in the actual fight because they're running out of water. They're just grabbing cones and stuff. I don't know. You've probably seen the videos of them throwing just water bottles on the fire. I mean, they're doing anything they can to just put these. So if I was just shoot from the hip and
I got one for you.
I'd be taken away from them.
I heard Oregon sent 80 fire trucks down and they got stopped at the border of California for emissions testing.
Where was that at?
They got stopped for emissions testing?
That's what I heard.
Conspiracy. We're just putting it out there. We don't have
I hadn't heard that one, but I hadn't heard that one, but
dude, I mean, it's California. It's not out of the realm of possibility. They're fucking nuts.
Well, do they have ways to take, and I'm asking you as a retard because I don't know. Do they have ways to actually take care of from the sky? Me and my wife were watching clips of Canadian birds landing on, skimming water, collecting water, and then they're rerouting them, and then they're dropping on California.
Yeah,
is that what we're having to resort to is Canada?
That I don't know, but you would think by this point that we would have enough resources to take care of these things. I do know that they ran out of water, which still blows my mind because in 2019 that all the reservoirs were filled up. There was plenty of water. California's had record number rainfall the last couple of years. So there's no drought. And then in the last couple of years, they decided to drain those reservoirs. So apparently it was to save a fish. But the same thing happened in Maui too. They ran out of water. So it makes you wonder. Like, again, I don't want to take away from what they're doing, but it makes you wonder why these places are running out of water when this has been an ongoing issue since time.
What do
Wildfire.
you think about one of the Christians, one of the chiefs, one of them? What do you think about her stroking out on a video where somebody's just asking her basic questions and she looks like she is having a stroke essentially, staring off into the distance and not answering any questions for about 4 minutes?
Are you talking about the mayor?
Yeah. Is that the mayor?
Yeah, the mayor.
Oh, that's the mayor. Okay.
So she's just refusing, just acting like she's not hearing. She's obviously just avoiding the questions because she doesn't have answers, right? She doesn't. All of them are puppets. I'm just gonna. That's my opinion. They're all puppets. They're just in place there. People will get mad at me because I say they're DEI hires, but the fire chief.
That puppet's making $439,000 a year.
Yeah.
Milks more than the president of the United States.
Right. So.
Whoa! Was that created for them, or is that how the fire chiefs have always been?
Well, the fire chief came out and said that it was a complete
but I
failure.
like that job. I'll put on a wig. I don't give a fuck.
Well, it's easy to complain, or it's easy to claim failure by the city after the fact. It's hard to say no before when you see the greater picture, when you see that there's not going to be water, and you see these issues like Bo Butler. He saw the issue from a bird's eye view and took a stand. But when you have people like fire chiefs that have no backbone, people that in leadership that have no backbone, that can't, have a hill to die on, then that's the result is what you get. Like, because as far as clearing out the brush too, so I don't remember who mentioned it, but it's probably Trump or something. But talking about clearing out the brush, that's been known for a decade now. I've been hearing about that, how they don't want people to go out there and clear the brush because it's endangering wildlife. You can't cut a line on a wildfire more than a certain amount of feet because it endangers wildlife. But they'd rather the fire. Yeah, exactly. So, and these have been known issues, and they just continue to let it burn, basically.
So,
the question is why?
Stepping away from Los Angeles, let's go into firefighter culture in general.
Okay.
Reagan from Conduct Unbecoming, the Unbecoming podcast. Your thoughts on, and I've been meaning to ask you this on a podcast forever, but we haven't done one. You haven't come down yet to Florida, and I haven't been up there to Texas to do one. But what's your thoughts on fire safety and you guys being, because I can tell you all day what cops, what our hands are tied. We can't do, I'm sorry, citizen, there's just things we can and cannot do. What's your take on firefighters being handcuffed essentially because of the safety industry?
Well, people think we hate rules. We hate the NFPA, which is the National Fire Protection Association, which is basically who governs us. But we just hate overreach. We just hate the progression of rules that don't make sense, that prohibit us from doing our jobs. Same thing with cops, I'm sure. So when you have to maintain, there's a rule 2 in, 2 out. In order for you to make entry into a building, you have to have 2 firefighters on the outside in case you go down. Well, you have $1 million you have several $1 million worth of apparatus sitting outside. You have $10,000 worth of protective gear on your body. You have an air pack. You have all the resources you need to go in there and try to put the fire out or save somebody, but we're prohibited. Now, technically, there's a clause that says if you hear somebody screaming or there's a known victim, you can go in there and pull somebody out. But that's subjective because each department has their own version of that. So,
some called exigent circumstances for cops. Like the Constitution kind of goes out the window.
Right.
If I walk up lawfully to your door, and then I hear something where somebody's in danger, I can boot that door.
Yeah.
And I don't have to have a warrant because of exigent circumstances. So it's the same thing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I heard that a lot
same.
when I busted.
That's all he said. Exigent circumstances.
When I used to break down doors, I was always because someone was screaming on the other side. So that's why I was able to.
Were they screaming before or after you kicked in the door?
Well, I didn't say when, but they were screaming. And
same concept.
Just a segue.
Yeah.
Camp Hero? Camp Freedom in Pennsylvania. 2,800 acres, 2,300 acre retreat for disabled vets, PTSD guys, and it's no charge. No charge. So there's a lot of stuff coming online that's available to guys that need help, women that need help. They started out with veterans. They're now getting a lot of 9/11 guys from the city and cops. So, yeah. And they're very in tuned and they're very willing. In fact, they were on our podcast yesterday that didn't air yet, so hang in there. And so there's a lot more coming online. You saw there was a doctor here today who's really deeply involved in bringing this whole thing to the forefront, with the mental health awareness. So, for me, thanks for, by the way, thanks for coming out. This is getting really deep in the weeds in some of these conversations that some people might not be able to follow the depths of it. I mean, certainly I can't. But the point is that this is the first time we've done this together, and I'm really happy and thankful you guys for giving us your time. This podcast, I don't know if we reached 100 million people yet today, but I'm hoping that it hits that number. And then
it's live now. We've had a couple hundred people in the chats
then
already.
We could probably get paid for this even, so that would be great.
Well, paid us, but it's all going back to paying everybody else here.
Yeah,
so
that's what I mean.
One of those tip your bartenders type thing.
Right. So I personally, I want to thank everybody for showing. I know we're about to cut down here, and it's getting tired. I'm 64 years old yesterday, so I need a fucking break. And I just want to say thank you for coming, bringing your whole family. I mean, if it wasn't for your
the Sal Squad,
the whole squad showed up, and they supported us. They support us at the refreshments, and I'm ready for a nap. And I want to thank you guys. Really, you're amazing. And I said my piece. God bless.
So, to end this, I don't feel obligated because you guys are all government workers. So it's like, does anybody have any questions? And everyone's like, I have a million, but I'm not going to ask them. Does anybody have any questions for this panel at all? And I'm going to give you the microphone and make you say it in front of everybody.
Come on.
Here's one question. Is it Regan's birthday? Yes, it is.
It's Reagan's birthday? It's your birthday today?
No. All right. It's just a question.
That's a conspiracy.
Question.
But yeah, to wrap it up, we want to be very upfront and honest with everybody. You can ask Brent how many people he's killed. Doesn't matter. You can ask him anything. But we just didn't want to end it without offering that, and we didn't want you guys to feel like you couldn't ask or you couldn't be part of it. But we are going to end this and then go full on hanging out with everybody, and it'll be kind of like a party atmosphere. But here now, does anybody forever hold your peace until next time? Anybody got any questions? Yeah, I kind of put it up there.
Elliot Collins. You have a question? No? No
like,
questions?
no, dude. No.
Hey, what's it? Elliot. I didn't know he was coming. Elliot came here. Me and Elliot served in Afghanistan together. He was in 20th Special Forces group with me and came here. It's a small world. Can't make it up.
He was Philly?
That's a statement. That's a statement, not a question. All right.
Well,
I just wanted to call you out, Elliot. I just want to call you out. What you got? The question is, how much does the podcast help me transition? I hate to say it. I do hate to say this because I don't want to sound like like super macho or people to think like that because I transitioned well that everyone should. I actually. I didn't.
I don't like that look.
Yeah,
I do not. By the way,
all right, this is going to be the exact opposite. But this is an honest answer. I didn't necessarily always want to do this podcast. I didn't always want for this podcast to to get as big as it is. It went from fun to a job at times,
for sure.
and we've talked about that. So I did want to do this podcast because I wanted it to be fun, and when we started it, it was fun. And I'm not telling you I don't enjoy the podcast. I absolutely did, but it turned into something that that was more of a business. And the great thing about it, the love that came from the podcast and us doing what we think is good things, which is not tearing down the veteran community, but holding people accountable, also came with a lot of hate. And I read the comments and I see that. So I didn't need anything to help me transition. I didn't. I did Iraq, I did Afghanistan, I did Syria, all of them, multiple times. When I retired, I felt like my book was closed with the military, so I was able to transition because I felt like my last chapter was written, and not in a Navy SEAL way, like in a metaphorical way. So I was good.
Yeah. So and with this podcast,
absolutely.
like it's we did start it with being first responder oriented. We even talked about we joked it's not going to be a special ops podcast.
Yeah.
We joked about that. The way it turns out is that just everybody, we joke about this too. You put Navy SEAL on the fucking header, it's going to have 300,000 likes and watches and views. There's just something about our culture where the first responders need more support than anything, but they don't support the videos about first responders.
Yep.
Overall, I'm not saying you guys wouldn't, but so we in turn as a business move, our goal is for first responders to be upfront and prioritized, right? The Navy SEALs don't need any more help. They can have a SEAL podcast to get them out of hot water if they need it. Our podcast, First Responders Coffee Company, First Responders Cigar Company, I'm an active cop. Like, we put first responder issues first, but sometimes you do have to integrate the sexy stories in there because what we did every time we do a Tim Kennedy episode or a Rob O'Neill type episode, our numbers jump up because it gets to people that have never heard us. And now, instead of talking to 1,000 people about issues in cop work or firefighter, we're now talking to 30,000 people to listen to that. So it's one of those, it's a necessary evil to do, but it also gives us a broader range. We talk about, we've had episodes where we didn't talk about military or, the last one we did, we talked about the hurricanes that came through North Carolina. We just did an episode on that.
We had Mike Perry
Mike Perry
on. We've had all sorts of things that weren't. But first responders will always be our main priority.
Yeah, and then we linked up with the Unbecoming podcast, and we're like, we need to set up an umbrella to put people like us in touch with, because it was Sal and Barbara that got us in touch with Nick. We didn't know fucking good cop, bad cop existed. I had known Mike's story for sure. Great story. I had no idea they had a fucking podcast together. So it takes networking like that. So underneath the umbrella of of this network, we're able to now wrap everybody up. They're all veteran first responder podcasts. We're gonna have blogs. We have people that want to write blogs, and that's just kind of how it's gonna be. And eventually, it will be a counterculture to what's already out there, the narratives that are out there, and a more real take on issues, because you're not going to see Black Rifle Coffee Company coming up and talking about some of the shit we saw or shit we talked about. It's the shit we brought up. No one in their right mind, because the sponsors aren't going to like that. The $1 million sponsors or Black Rifle in general, that's public. They're a public company now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're bored of people aren't going to allow them to have. I mean, no offense, but someone like Mike, I'm just saying, that's bad for business. Oh, you guys are condoning. No, we're having someone with life experience come on and tell their story. That's the difference. So again, really appreciate you guys coming out here. Do you have a question?
He said, how many in here are veterans? Yep. So,
There you go.
let- All right, put a pin in that for a second because I got a question for you. I just want to make sure everyone listening, got to hear that question or that statement, which is, if you were a veteran or are a veteran, please go to the VA and get a free screening because you'll catch cancer. You won't catch cancer. That's not right. You have a potential to detect cancer and anything else that may have happened to you. And it's free, and there's no reason not to. This is what a veteran might say. It's free. There's no reason why not to. Did you have a good experience with the VA scheduling it and getting in with no issues with your experience? And he said, yeah. And what veteran hospital did you go to? Well, I'm glad you brought that up, and it's not that I'm anti-VA, but I will say this because I've actually never been to the VA, and at some point I will.
Delta Force is anti-VA.
But I hear a lot of stories about. I hear great stories about the VA. Like, you wouldn't believe this. I had a really good experience with the VA, and I hear a lot of the opposite. The VA is the horrible in this way. Everyone hates it. The VAs are all run differently, but there's always that stigma that all VAs suck, which isn't necessarily true either. So I'll say this: there's, I don't know, a fourth of the people in here are veterans. Has anyone had a bad VA experience?
Yeah, but
a few out of all of them. I'll ask you a quick. What was your bad VA experience? Yeah. Oh man, the just horrible customer service.
Well, it is the government, by the way.
Right,
So
yeah.
if you're relying on, here's the thing: is the VA's been very good to me. Don't really have any bad things to say about them. I mean, you check my bank account every month; they take care of me. But it is the government. So if it is on you, if you have a really bad issue, that's the beautiful thing about the United States of America is that if you can afford private care and you go, fuck that, VA's gonna take care of it, and you get shit care, that's on you. That's the fucking government. That's just me. But again, they don't do any bad, but they might not be the best. So if you're gonna make them your priority as healthcare, just be wary. It's the government. It's not any doctors in particular. It's really not even the VA in particular. It's the fact that it's the United States government.
Right, and the government isn't traditionally known for their customer service.
The government's here to help you.
And I agree with you. But with that, that's your bad experience because of customer service. How hard? Your job is to help veterans, and the least you can do is be thankful and be kind to them. That's, I think, the least I could ask of you. But they can't even do that. So I don't disagree with your point with them. Wait times. Yeah, what is this, Canada?
We're gonna give you the last thing. Obviously, you're being sponsored by the VA, so no, I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. I'm just kidding. Just joking. Wait, what is it? Hold on. What is it called? Yeah, I want to give him a plug, but I can't hear what he's saying.
Is it the same as the Hunter 7 Foundation? Yeah, the Hunter 7 Foundation. I've heard a lot of good things about them. and smoke pits and cancer-related things and chemical-related. Yeah, the Hunter 7 Foundation is a real one for sure. And there's a lot of nonprofits out there that have a pretty high overhead, and they have CEOs making $250,000 as a nonprofit. It's ridiculous. The Hunter 7 Foundation's a good one. I know about that. Absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned that.
That being said, guys, that is a wrap. So thank you for coming. Please
Great.
stay.
Thank you.
Please hang out. Have a beer with us. I've got to pee really bad, but we'll do this again soon. Thank you, guys.
This episode is sponsored by AR Law, PA State Rep Martina White, Biondo Creative, Morrow Flooring, and Pops McCann Whiskey.